Hi everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'm going to be showing you two cards I created using some new Trinity Stamp products. I'm going to be using these two new gnomes from the July release. These are called Hello There and Bright Side, and I'm also going to pull in an older stamp set, and this one is called Sunflower Bouquet Builder. So I did off camera stamp all of the images I wanted to use for my two cards with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I stamped them onto 110-pound white Neenah cardstock. Both the paper and the ink are alcohol friendly, so I will be coloring these in with my Copic markers. The caps are on screen. I'm going to start by coloring the gnome from Hello There. I'm going to make the flower that he's sitting on pink, and I'm using my RV markers. So whenever I color with my Copics, I always start with my darkest marker and map out my shadows. So for this flower, I added the shadows underneath the gnome, so towards the center of the flower. And then I go over those darker areas with my midtone and I pull the color towards the tip of the petals or the tip of the leaves like I'm doing here. And I leave just a little bit of white space to go over with my lightest marker, and I use that lightest marker to blend everything together. And you might have noticed that I went over those leaves again with my darkest marker, and that's just because I used three markers that were similar in number caps. They were very close together, and that basically means that they're similar in tone, and therefore I lost some of that contrast from my darkest marker. So whenever that happens, I just go over the image one last time with my darkest marker and I don't blend it, and I like that much more. I don't always have to do that, but sometimes when I have very close color caps, I'll just go over it again with my darkest marker to add that contrast back in. So I did use that Sunflower Bouquet Builder stamp set, and I stamped out a whole bunch of flowers and leaves from that set, and instead of coloring them like sunflowers, I decided to color them in some really bright colors. If you're wondering the color scheme that I went with, I always go to Pinterest when I want some inspiration, including color schemes. I knew I wanted to do some kind of rainbow, but I didn't want it to be a traditional rainbow, so I just went to Pinterest and I found this alternative rainbow which has some more of these blue-green colors, some bright pinks and coral colors, so it's not the traditional Roy G. Biv kind of colors, but it is still really bright and fun. So you can stretch your stamps. Obviously the Sunflower Builder Bouquet stamp set is a fall themed set, but you can just color them in whatever colors you want to turn it into a spring or summer stamp, which is what I did here. So I'm going to color in this little gnome here. You can see I colored a bunch of little butterflies. Those butterflies came in the Hello There stamp set and the Bright Side. There was just a variety of different butterflies. And so I'm going to color in his little beard. I'm using W4, W2, and W0 to give him a gray beard. And then I think I make his hat a bright yellow color. So I think I used Y18, Y15, and Y13, and I will color in his little shirt purple, which is the complementary color of yellow. You can see just a little bit of his sleeve is peeking through and a little bit of his pants. And I just think these gnomes are so cute. So I'm going to show you how I colored in the other gnome from Bright Side. And this time I will color the flowers that he has over his eyes as sunflowers. So I'm going to use those same yellow markers and color him in. I don't know about you guys, but I have way too many gnomes. Every time I think I don't need any more, another cute gnome set comes out, and these are no exception. I love that these look very traditional, like the Norwegian gnomes, because they're completely covered by their beards. So I think that's really, really cute. I think you can even color in the little bit of skin on both of them blue and kind of make them look like Smurfs, because especially this one has that cute little party hat, and the Smurfs wear those red hats. So that's kind of what I was going for, but I do end up coloring his skin in E13 and E11. And for this gnome, I made his beard with my cool gray markers. And I just wanted some different grays, I guess, but I did hear that if you want to color in dead things, you would use your cool grays, and alive things you would color with your warm grays. I don't know where that came from, but I hear it all the time. But like I said, I just wanted there to be two different kinds of grays. So I'm going to show you how I colored in the dirt that's underneath him. I think it could also be a puddle, but I decided to color everything as dirt. And I'm going to use my E13, E11, and E00 marker for this. And instead of coloring back and forth, I'm actually stippling. So I'm just adding little tiny dots all over, very close together, so it almost looks like it's colored in, but they are little dots. And for the last marker, E00, my lightest, I just color over the whole thing, and that's going to blend out those dots and make them look more subtle. But I do think that adds a nice dirt texture, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. So I added some red centers to those sunflowers, and I'm going to show you how I colored in one more of these flowers. Whenever I color in flowers, I tend to always add my darkest color towards the center of the petals and then flick my mid-tone over the dark color and leave just a little bit of white towards the tips of those petals, and then I'll go over them with my lightest marker. And I have been getting a lot of requests to include my Copic color combinations on screen a little bit better because I am going through the caps really quick. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. It will take a little bit more time for me, but I'm starting to think that it's probably worth it. I know when I first started Copic coloring, I really valued those YouTubers that included their combinations. But a lot of the times I kind of just grab what I think would look good together, so I'm not focusing in on the caps so much, but that's something I can definitely do if I have a lot of requests for it. I've gotten a few so far, but let me know if that's something you guys would really want, and I will be sure to do that. So I did all my Copic coloring, and off camera I die cut everything, and now I'm working on my first card. So I have an A2 card base here, and I die cut a stitch circle from the front. I also die cut a circle stitch frame, which I'm going to add acetate behind. You know me, I love my acetate, and this is going to be a window card. So there is going to be that little gnome on the inside of the card. And surrounding this circle is going to be a whole bunch of flowers. I'm going to create a wreath around it. You can see I die cut another stitch circle frame, which I thought I would add on the inside of the card, and you definitely can, but I felt like it wasn't needed, so I ended up just not using it. But I did attach that one frame to the front of the card, and now I'm going to attach my gnome on the inside of the card now. And I want his flowers to peek through onto the front. So I'm going to grab my die cut flowers now and arrange them around my little gnome. I want to cover up most of his body and just have his little sunflowers peeking through so that people can kind of guess what's inside. And you can see I die cut all of the leaves from that stamp set, even these little twigs. I thought they would be nice fillers for my wreath, so I'm just doing a whole lot of arranging and tucking, trying to figure out what I want. I thought about adding that butterfly right there, but that pretty much covers the gnome completely, so I will end up moving that butterfly. I don't even know if I use it or not. We'll see. I made these two cards about a month ago, so I don't really remember what I did. But you can see I colored some of the leaves in the blue-green color and some with a YG, a really bright green color. And I really like the two shades of green. I think it adds some nice interest. So you can see I'm playing around with this for quite a while, and in the end I'm happy with how this looks. So instead of gluing everything down one at a time, I thought it would be easier if I created little clusters. So you can see I'm using my art glitter glue, adding some glue to the tips of my leaves and branches so I can tuck them underneath one of the larger flowers, and that worked for the most part. I'm trying my best to keep everything in place while I glue. It's a little bit difficult. But this way I can still move around my clusters. I don't have to commit all the way, because you're going to see even now I'm still moving things around, tucking more things underneath some of these flowers. And I'm not sure if you can see, but I did add 2 teeny tiny little ladybugs to some of the leaves on the wreath. So there's a lot of detail. You can see I moved up that pink butterfly towards the blue flower. I thought he fit nicely up there. And then I thought about using some smaller butterflies, but in the end decided to take them off. So I'm happy with how this looks. I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down now. Now, because this is a window card, you are going to see some of those die cuts on the inside of the card. That may or may not bother you. You can die cut some more of these flowers and glue them onto the inside of the card back to back, but I just decided to leave it as is. I do plan on giving this card away for free if someone purchases the Slimline card, which I'll be creating after this one over at my Etsy shop. Whenever I create cards, I sometimes create freebies, which I give to my customers as a thank you, and then some of them I will sell in my shop, but this one, because there is die cuts showing through, I felt like this would be a good freebie. So I'm really happy with this design. I love that little gnome face peeking through the window, and then when you open the card you see his full body. I thought that was really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this card off just with a sentiment, and I'm going to combine some sentiments from the Sunflower Builder Bouquet set and from the Bright Side set. So I want my sentiment to say, "Hello sunshine, look on the bright side." And I stamped it onto a scrap piece of paper and realized that I should probably stamp these separately. So I started with "look on the bright side," and then above that I stamped "Hello sunshine," just with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then that's going to complete my first card. I thought about, again, adding some butterflies, but I really like the white space around the wreath, so I didn't add anything else. And then that will complete my first card. Here is a close-up. Moving on to my second card, I will be creating a slimline, and if you follow me on Instagram, you might have already seen this card, but I decided to include it in today's video just because I used the same 3 stamp sets, and I really love how this card turned out. So I'm going to start by die cutting some grass from some lime green cardstock, and to add some shading to it, I used my Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink and added that to the bottom of the grass. And now I'm going to take my blue blender brush and I'm going to blend on whatever ink is left on this brush onto a white stitch rectangle, which I die cut from a Trinity Stamps Slimline die. These are from the Stitched Panels and Windows die set. By the way, that grass is also a Trinity Stamp Border Slimline die set, and all the products that I used will be listed down below. So now I'm going to take all of my die cuts, that's going to include the 2 gnomes that I colored and a whole bunch of the sunflowers, and I'm just going to create sort of like a flower patch. I thought that was a cute little setting for my gnomes. And you're going to see that I will move these die cuts around quite a bit, trying to figure out the layout that I want. And I like to include this into the video because you don't always get it on your first try. Sometimes you have a vision of what the layout will look like, but pretty much 95% of the time things have to be moved around, and I thought it might be interesting for you guys to see the process. I did know that in the sky I wanted to add some of these small butterflies, and I wanted this larger purple one to be sitting on one of the gnomes' noses, which I thought was adorable. So I figured out the layout that I wanted. I'm going to glue down the grass with my ATG tape, and then everything else is pretty much popped up on foam tape. There are some elements that I will glue down flat, others I'm going to pop up. I went ahead and already added the foam tape to save some time on this video because it's already pretty long. And if you're new to my channel, I oftentimes like to glue things flat and other things pop up. I really like the difference in dimension. And the foam tape that I'm using is by Uline. It's a inexpensive foam tape. It is super sticky, so once you adhere whatever you want to adhere, it is not going to come back up. So you do have to be careful. I'm going to glue the flower in between the two gnomes flat, and then the two gnomes I will pop up with the foam tape. And you might have noticed that I have left no room for a sentiment. I don't think I add a sentiment to this card, so it could work for really anything. I really like these two flowers because I tucked them behind the gnome. I think in order to really sell a scene, it's sometimes really nice to overlap some elements, and it looks a little bit more organic that way. So I'm just going to adhere the last few flowers. I'm going to flip the panel around and trim off any little stems that might be overhanging, but now that I'm looking at the video, I see that orange flower has a stem coming down. I think for the butterflies, I just pop up that purple one, and then the rest I will glue down flat. And the glue that I'm using, oh no, I do pop up some of the small butterflies, but whatever I'm adhering flat, I'm using my art glitter glue. I really love this glue. It's my favorite for card making. So once everything is adhered, I will flip this panel around, add some ATG tape, and adhere it onto my card base. And in case you're wondering, the Slimline card base size that I always go with is 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. I know there's not like a universal Slimline card size, it's kind of weird, but I always go with that size because they fit nicely into these Trinity Stamps Slimline envelopes. I will have them listed down below because I always get questions about what envelopes I mail my Slimlines in, and these are really great. She has them in a colorful variety pack, neutrals, metallics. She has a whole bunch of different options, and I will make sure to list them all down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet already, please subscribe to my channel, hit that thumbs up button, and otherwise I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!